What if I told you that the world you see, the chaos, the uncertainty, the missed opportunities, is not the true enemy? What if the real battlefield isn't out there, but in here, within the chambers of your own mind? You were never meant to live at the mercy of circumstance. You were meant to rise above it. But that mastery begins with you. Most people drift through life reacting to everything, every conflict, every failure, every unexpected turn, like leaves in a storm. But those who understand the deeper laws, those who remember what the soul came here to do, they don't react, they respond, they create, they command. According to Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, the soul is not here to be tested by the world, but to transform it. And the first step of that transformation, mastering the self, not through domination or denial, but through deep inner alignment. Cayce taught that every individual is a spiritual being having a material experience. But most of us get that backward. We act like we're material beings grasping for spiritual glimpses. So we chase things, money, status, control, thinking if we just adjust our outer reality, our inner world will follow. But it never does, because the outer is the echo. The inner is the origin. You don't fix your life by changing circumstances. You fix your life by changing you. The thoughts you believe, the emotions you feed, the stories you keep telling yourself in silence. Mastering yourself means becoming sovereign in your consciousness. No longer enslaved by doubt or fear or that voice that says, you're not enough. It means seeing pain and not becoming it. It means walking through darkness, but remembering the light you carry. That's not easy, but that's why you came here. This life is not an accident. According to Cayce's readings, your soul chose this body, this time, this set of challenges, not as punishment, but as purpose. The soul seeks growth, and growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in contrast. And the circumstances you face are mirrors, reflecting where you've mastered yourself and where you haven't yet. If you're still thrown off by every delay, still triggered by every judgment, still controlled by moods or impulses or other people's chaos, it's not because you're weak, it's because there's a lesson you haven't fully owned. But here's the truth. The lesson keeps showing up until you do. Over and over, Cayce emphasized the law of cause and effect, not just in action, but in consciousness. What you hold in your heart, what you dwell on in your mind, what you speak into the air, it all creates ripples in the field of experience. Karma is not fate, it's feedback. It's your soul's curriculum, crafted by your choices. And when you don't master yourself, when you let anger speak, or let fear decide, or let habit guide you, you are mastered by the very circumstances you wish to escape. So how do you begin to master the self? Start with awareness. Becoming the observer of your inner world is the beginning of all spiritual power. Most people aren't thinking. They're being thought by their conditioning. Mastery begins the moment you pause and witness. You watch the thought rise and choose whether to believe it. You feel the emotion build and choose whether to feed it. You face the pattern returning and choose whether to repeat it or transmute it. Cayce often said, the mind is the builder, not the body, not fate, not external conditions, the mind. And he didn't mean intellect. He meant the creative power of attention, imagination, and belief. What you consistently hold in consciousness, that's what becomes real in your world. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are, what you habitually vibrate. So the mastery of self is also the mastery of thought. And that begins with claiming your ideal. Your ideal is more than a goal. It's a North Star for the soul. It's the higher vibration you return to when fear tempts you, when ego distracts you, when doubt whispers. Without an ideal, a clearly chosen spiritual direction, the mind wavers. It gets lost in reaction, tossed by external events like a ship without a compass. But when you hold a true ideal, like patience, or love, or harmony, or divine purpose, your life begins to bend toward it, slowly then suddenly. You think, speak, and act through the lens of that ideal, and in doing so, you master yourself. Cayce gave thousands of readings on this principle. In everyone, the message was the same. Change yourself and you change your world. But this is not an intellectual exercise. It's a discipline of vibration. You train your vibration through prayer, through stillness, through choosing your responses one moment at a time, through letting go of the belief that circumstances control you, because they don't. They never did. Circumstances are neutral until you assign them meaning. Two people can face the same storm. One breaks, the other bends. One curses it, the other thanks it. One says, "Why me?" The other says, "What's the lesson here?" Mastering yourself means choosing which person you are. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being present, about being willing to pause, to breathe, and to respond from soul, not from fear. You've already had enough experience to see this. Every time you react unconsciously, you create more of what you don't want. But every time you choose presence, even once, you reclaim a piece of your power. So no, you are not a victim of this life. You are a creator in training. And life, with all its unpredictability, all its friction, is your training ground. Cayce often referred to Earth as a classroom for the soul. Each lifetime is a lesson. Each moment, a chance to remember. Each challenge, an invitation to become what you once only talked about. You say you want peace, then master your anger. You say you want freedom, then master your attachments. You say you want love, then master the parts of you still afraid to give it without condition. Because until you master yourself, your mind, your emotions, your reactions, the world will keep mastering you. Not out of cruelty, but out of compassion. The soul wants truth, not comfort. And the truth is this: you are here to become sovereign, not over others, but over yourself. Only then will you move through life not as a victim of fate, but as a vessel of the divine. You were not sent here to be passive. You were not sent here to drift. You were not sent here to simply endure. You were sent here to remember. And remembering begins with reclaiming the sacred responsibility of choice. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every emotion you indulge, these are not random. They are causes in the subtle architecture of your destiny. Edgar Cayce's readings constantly reminded us, mind is the builder, the physical is the result, and the spiritual, the soul, is the architect behind it all. So if your outer life feels like chaos, the blueprint needs revising. And the blueprint is not your job, your partner, your health, your history. The blueprint is your consciousness. Most people never realize that their consciousness is the only domain they truly control. You can't control how the world treats you, but you can always control how you interpret, internalize, and transmute that treatment. That's power. That's self-mastery. Mastery doesn't look like perfection. It looks like presence. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you already are beneath the noise, the fear, the programming, and the programming runs deep. From childhood, you were taught how to react, what to believe, who to trust, what to fear. Most of those beliefs were not chosen. They were inherited. You didn't choose to fear scarcity. You didn't choose to internalize shame. You didn't choose to believe you're only worthy if you perform. But the mind absorbed those beliefs because it didn't yet know it had a choice. Now it does. Now you do. And once you see the program, you become more than it. Cayce's readings encourage not just faith, but practice, active spiritual discipline, prayer, meditation, dream work, affirmations, not as dogma, but as tools to shift consciousness, to interrupt the unconscious patterns and install something higher. Because the mind, left untrained, will always default to survival. It will loop the past. It will anticipate failure. It will obsess over control. But the mind, when mastered, becomes a ladder to the divine. Through it, you rise. Through it, you rewrite karma. Cayce taught that karma is not punishment. It is a loving law of balance. What you create must return to you, not to hurt you, but to teach you. So the very patterns that test you the most, whether it's abandonment, betrayal, self-sabotage, these are not curses. These are echoes of what you once put into motion. And if you've built them, you can unbuild them. You do it by becoming conscious in every moment, by noticing the triggers without letting them take over, by observing your pain without becoming its prisoner, by choosing love when anger would be easier. This is not weakness, this is warriorship. Cayce often said that spiritual strength isn't measured by what you can control outside of you, but by what you can remain still through, within you. The master of the self knows. Circumstances are storms. They pass. The only constant is the center you return to. So where is your center? Is it fear of what could go wrong? Is it resentment for what has already gone wrong? Or is it a quiet knowing that no matter the outcome, you are aligned with something greater? That center, your spiritual ideal, is everything. In Cayce's teachings, the ideal was sacred. It was a soul's compass. He told his clients, choose your ideal carefully. Not just an abstract word, but a living vibration. Something you return to in thought, in speech, in action. Something that defines who you are in your darkest hour. Because when the storms hit, and they will, you don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your preparation, and your preparation is your inner work. Have you trained your mind to seek truth beyond appearances? Have you trained your heart to stay open in the face of pain? Have you trained your will to choose alignment over approval? That's the work. That's the mastery, and it is available to you now. Right now, you are being called into a new contract with your life. Not a contract of survival, but of sovereignty. Not a contract of reaction, but of creation. Everything you need is already within you. Cayce said it again and again. The body is the temple, the spirit is the flame, and the mind is the bridge between them. When you align your thoughts with your highest ideal, when you choose to see with spiritual sight instead of ego defense, you activate that bridge, and through it, you create a new world. This is not metaphor, it is law. The law of vibration, the law of mind, the law of cause and effect. These are spiritual mechanics. They operate whether you believe in them or not. You become what you focus on. You draw to you what you dwell upon. You harmonize with the frequency you embody. So if you are constantly surrounded by conflict, ask what war is still active within me. If you are constantly drained, ask what am I giving my power to? If you are constantly overlooked, ask what truth in me am I still ignoring? The self does not lie. The soul does not forget. It will keep nudging, keep whispering, keep orchestrating circumstances until you listen. So listen, not to the noise of the world, but to the stillness of your spirit. Mastery is not a title, it is a tuning, a daily realignment with the deeper rhythm of your being. And each time you return to it, in silence, in breath, in choice, you become less reactive and more real. Real in the sense Cayce spoke of, as in aligned with the divine pattern within you. Because the true self is not fractured, it is whole, it is holy, and it waits for you behind every triggered reaction, every painful memory, every collapsed belief. You are not broken, you are buried, and the process of mastering the self is the process of unburying that light. That's what the ancients called awakening. That's what Cayce called attunement. It's what mystics throughout time have described. Peeling away illusion until all that remains is essence. And from that essence, you live. Not to escape life, but to transform it. Not to control others, but to lead yourself. Not to impress the world, but to remember God with Sun, Antoriden. Within. Mastery of the self is not a destination. It is not a badge. It is not an achievement that one day you hang on the wall and say, I've done it. It is a way of being, a path you walk with intention, over and over, through every season of life. And the path is not straight. It twists, it contracts, it tests you in silence and stuns you in storms. But each challenge, Cayce said, is not here to defeat you. It is here to reveal you, to mirror back the parts of your soul that are still unintegrated, still hidden, still waiting for light. The moments when life presses hardest against you, those are not punishments. They are initiations, not into more pain, but into more power. Because power does not come from controlling your environment. It comes from owning your response to it. That is where the soul begins to speak. Think of every great teacher, every mystic, every awakened being. Their transformation did not come from comfort. It came from confrontation, from standing in the fire of their own limitation and refusing to be consumed by it. That is what Cayce pointed to when he spoke of the inner Christ. Not a doctrine, but a living pattern of light and strength encoded in every human soul. And yet most people will never touch that light. Not because it isn't there, but because they never go deep enough within themselves to find it. They distract, they blame, they avoid. They wait for circumstances to change before they choose peace, before they choose power. But in doing so, they give their entire life away, hand it over to external forces like waves in a storm, directionless and reactive. Mastery means taking it back. It means standing in front of every fear and saying, "You do not own me." It means looking at your pain and declaring, "You will not shape me, I will shape you." It means recognizing, as Cayce often emphasized, that your mind is a sacred instrument. And just as you would not allow poison into your body, you must not allow poison into your thoughts. Not unchecked, not unexamined, not unconfronted. Because thoughts are not neutral, they carry weight, they generate feeling, they guide behavior, and ultimately they crystallize into fate. So ask yourself, what thoughts have you allowed to run your life? That you are not enough? That others hold the keys to your joy? That happiness is somewhere else, in some other time? Those are not truths. Those are imprints, shadows of old wounds carried across lifetimes, shaped by karma, reinforced by culture. And Cayce's readings tell us clearly, until those patterns are addressed, they will return. Again and again. Different names, different faces, same energy, same root. But you are not sentenced to your past. You are here to rewrite it, not by erasing it, but by transforming it, by holding it in new light, with new awareness, with new choice. That's what reincarnation is for, not to trap the soul in endless cycles, but to give it endless chances to remember who and what it really is. You are not the roles you've played. You are not the mistakes you've made. You are not the identity you've crafted in response to pain. You are consciousness itself, eternal, creative, divine. And the more you remember that, the less life will master you, because you will have mastered the only thing that truly matters, your inner state. It's not easy. It never was meant to be. But it is simple. Every day you are given choices to feed your fear or to feed your faith, to react or to reflect, to resist your life or to meet it fully. These choices seem small, but they are everything. They are how karma is born, how destiny is built, how futures are forged. This is what Cayce meant when he spoke of the power of the mind in shaping reality. The mind is the workshop of the soul. Through it, you build either bridges to the divine or walls that keep you from it. But either way, you are building, so build wisely. Meditation is the beginning, not because it fixes life, but because it reveals life, as it is, not as your fear sees it. In silence, you come face to face with yourself, and that meeting, raw, uncomfortable, honest, is the doorway to every transformation. Cayce said that in stillness, the soul speaks, but you must be willing to listen, and what you hear will not always be gentle. Sometimes it will be rage, sometimes grief, sometimes unbearable longing. But beneath it all, if you keep listening, is something else. A whisper, a presence, a knowing. It says, you are more than this moment. You are more than what has happened to you. You are more than your fear. It says you are loved, you are guided, you are not alone. But to hear that voice, you must first master the louder ones. The ones shouting shame, the ones echoing doubt, the ones telling you to quit. And when you do, when you choose faith over fear, clarity over confusion, devotion over distraction, something in the universe moves. Not because you forced it, but because you aligned with it. You become a vessel, a channel, a conduit of the higher forces Cayce spoke of. The Christ consciousness, the divine pattern, the light within. And from there, You live not just as a person, but as a soul in motion. You speak words that heal. You think thoughts that uplift. You act in ways that harmonize with the greater good. This is the life you were meant to live. Not one of passive reaction, but one of powerful intention. Not one where you are ruled by your emotions, but one where you rule through your awareness. Not one dictated by circumstance, but one governed by inner alignment. So remember who you are. Not a victim of the world, not a pawn in fate's game, but a creator, a builder. A spark of the infinite clothed in skin, armed with will, guided by soul. You will face trials, you will stumble, you will doubt, but each time you have the power to choose, mastery or fear, awareness or avoidance, expansion or contraction. This is your sacred work. This is your soul's evolution, and in each moment, you are writing the future not only for yourself, but for every life you touch. So master the self, or be mastered by all that would keep you small. The world does not need more people chasing control. It needs more people embodying presence. And that begins with you, now. In this breath, in this choice, this is the path. Walk it with courage. Walk it with light. Walk it as one who remembers. You are not here to escape your humanity. You are here to infuse it with divinity. And when you do, you don't just change your life, you change the world.